Mr. Ludwig Landgren, VP of Ericsson, honourable speakers and guests, and thank you to the team at Economic Times for the invitation for me to provide these comments here today. It's just been just over 2.5 weeks since GSMA held its annual Mobile World Congress Barcelona, who some of the people in this room attended. It's always a great opportunity to meet industry and colleagues, old colleagues from around the world, but actually there's nothing that can replace the energy, commitment and excitement, I think, that I get from coming here to India and being able to learn and experience and absorb the innovation and actually what's going on here, the progress in 5G deployment and the vision for Digital India. So thank you for being here today. In Barcelona, GSMA published its annual Global Mobile Economy Report, and the numbers that describe and define the mobile industry are staggering. What's even more staggering, though, is that in the last 12 months, largely due to India's rapid rollout of 5G, our forecasts for the end of the decade have generally been revised upwards pretty significantly. So at the end of 2023, over 5.6 billion people around the world are using a mobile service. 58% of those people are using mobile broadband, and 18% of those total users are already using 5G. Globally, the usage gap, which is the amount of people covered by mobile broadband but not using, is narrowing. However, more work needs to be done. A connected nation is more than just an economic asset. It's a resilience to epidemics. We saw that during the COVID. It's a platform for distributing economic growth, and we see that happening in India every day. And it's a platform to solve the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So it is the foundations of a digital nation. By the end of the decade, around 56% of the subscribers in the world will be using 5G. And Ludwig just showed you some numbers there before. That's up 2% from our 2023 forecast, and as I mentioned, in large part due to India. We expect over 90% of the 6.3 billion total users at the end of the decade to be holding a smartphone. A question, though, we need to start to ask ourselves is how many people will be using a different form factor, such as glasses, for interacting with their digital society by then. And the mobile economy, by the end of this decade, we expect to be generating around $6.4 trillion, increasing from the $5.7 trillion it does now. On top of that growth, as Ludwig highlighted as well, average data usage per customer in Asia Pacific is experiencing exponential growth. And this trend is not only closing the usage gap, but also created by the unabated rise in consumption per capita. And we saw that in India, it's very high. And here in India, average data consumption, already world leading, highlights that infrastructure investment is a journey and not a destination. There are only so many hours in the day to watch a movie. You can only watch so many movies in a day. But the quality of the movie, the data requirements of other services, and the number of services that are being consumed simultaneously by users continues to rise. So ladies and gentlemen, when I am referring to, when I mention the path to sustainable digital nations, well, we're all familiar with the imperative to halt and even reverse climate change for a sustainable world for our children and our future generations. And conventional wisdom says you're only going to remember 3 things from my remarks, so I'm only going to ask you to remember 2. But they are 2 critical imperatives that we need to focus on to build a world of sustainable digital nations. Mobile technology is now the foundations for a digital economy, as I've outlined. At the basic level, it is infrastructure and connectivity. Digital economies and mobile ecosystems must now compete globally for investment to remain vibrant and capable of supporting innovation and digital transformation. It is imperative that there's a balanced policy and regulatory framework that encourages and ensures that the ecosystem continues to meet the vision for digital nations by securing a sustainable investment climate for all, including for infrastructure. So my first imperative, which I ask you to remember, is for the path to a digital nation is that we need a sustainable investment climate for all parts of the ecosystem. Second, moving on, mobile connectivity has transformed people's lives, industry, and the wider society, enabling access to many life-enhancing digital services and driving productivity gains, as we've seen. However, as we seek to close the usage gap and mobile technology continues to oil the wheels of the economy, bad actors and failure are exposing the risks to digital trust and potential to derail our journey to inclusive digital nations. By now, many of us know someone who has been a victim of a scam or a fraud, or we have changed our mobile usage habits, or have been concerned about our parents' or child's safety online. Our trust is being challenged, but we have also seen instances where industry and government trust in digital has also been shaken by network outages, bringing payment systems and public transport to a halt, and things like emergency call services made inaccessible. There are studies which show Gen Z, the most digitally native generation we have, are some of the most at risk from scams and frauds because they always just press the click to accept. But our society functions on trust. Advances in technology like AI have rapidly escalated doubts in the resilience of digital trust. We require a whole of society approach to secure trust in the digital world. So my second imperative, which I'm asking you to remember, is that if we are to achieve our vision for inclusive digital nations, that we collectively protect, nurture, and curate digital trust, not only for consumers, but also for industry and for society. In closing, this year, around 2/3 of the world's population is electing the leaders who will guide their nations into the next decade. A decade where 6G will become a reality, where AI will possibly be integrated into every aspect of our lives, and where the smartphone is likely to start to give way to other form factors as the primary interface for engagement with the digital world. Technology is rapidly evolving like never before, but also the measures of inclusiveness, sustainability, and digital leadership must also change with that technology. Just as much as we must apply our minds to reversing years of neglect to preserve our physical world, it is an imperative to act now to preserve and nurture sustainable investment and digital trust to create a safe, secure, and inclusive digital world for future generations. India has set out a bold vision to become the next global telecom superpower, and deserves applause for the bold steps and the achievements of the last few years, which is why we awarded India our Global Government Leadership GLOMO Award last year in Barcelona. But with that bold vision also comes the burden and responsibility to not only lead, but to be a global statesman, carefully stewarding the global industry and ecosystem on a path to a world of sustainable digital nations. And I look forward to the challenge as we collectively address those two digital nation imperatives I have raised today with you, the people in this room, with India, and with the industry from around the world. So thank you, and thank you at Economic Times for this opportunity.